This is a great guitar, possibly inspired by something else. Welcome back to The Mix, I'm ABD. Today we're doing the full review of the Squier Paranormal Stratosonic in Vintage Blonde. You might have noticed that this guitar is quite similar to another guitar from another manufacturer, namely Gibson, the Les Paul Special. And Fender, Squier, calls this Vintage Blonde, but it's kind of trying to be, or mimicking, at least in my opinion. See a TV yellow finish, like for example on the Epiphone version of the Les Paul Special. It is not transparent, so you cannot see the wood grain through it, and it doesn't look nearly as good. Here, you can see that beautiful wood grain on the Akuma body, which is more like mahogany than like alder, which you would usually find on a Fender, or a Squier would usually have poplar, which is kind of the cheaper comparable wood to alder, like Akuma is a cheaper kind of version of mahogany. It is in the mahogany family, so it has a warmer, richer kind of tonal characteristic, and you have P90s on it, but Fender does not call them P90s, they call them single coils. El Nico soap bar single coil pickups, but they are very much P90s. They sound like P90s, they look like P90s. So I think they are. It has this cool pickguard on it that is 3-ply, black, white, black. It has a single piece lightning bolt tail piece and bridge. And it is actually, funny enough, an Epiphone part. If you take it off and you look at it, it says Epiphone on it. And Fender commented on that and they said they didn't mean to do that and that they were correcting it. So I believe they do make their own lightning bolt tail pieces, but somehow, in whatever factory, it got mixed up with Epiphone. Or maybe that's just what they're saying, and that's what they're telling us, and they always planned to steal it from Epiphone the whole time, in Gibson. But the other similarities to a Gibson-style guitar that it's trying to mimic is it has a scale length of 24.75, more like a Les Paul, or SG, or a Gibson. It has a 12-inch radius on a Laurel fretboard, which is different than a Fender or a Tele, which would usually have a 9.5-inch radius. The fretboard does feel and look very nice. The Laurel almost looks like rosewood. It's kind of polished in a nice way. The ends are not rolled, but there's no sharp edges whatsoever on the neck. On the back there's a finish, and it feels good. It's not too thick. It looks good. You have a neck plate, control plate with your pots in there, and that's one of the special things about the guitar that we could talk here, the push-pull pots. So you have two of them. One is for series and one is for parallel. And that's for your pickups to use them either together at the same time or together with a tiny little delay. And as usual, a negative on these Squier guitars is the tuners. They don't look very good and they don't work very well. I hadn't played the guitar for like a week and I picked it up and it was totally out of tune. Everything was flat. So all the tuners just don't stay in tune. One of the things I had to do when I got the guitar was totally give it a setup. The bridge was too high. The truss rod needed an adjustment, and most importantly, the pickups were not high enough. They were way too low, and I really couldn't even get them as high as I wanted to because there wasn't enough foam underneath. So that's one of the things I would definitely knock points off the guitar is I can't really get the pickups where I want them to be. That's a pretty big deal. And for the setup, if you're an amateur or a person that might be getting this as like one of their first guitars and you got it directly from Fender or from somewhere where they did not set it up first, you might be out of luck and you might not know how to get in there and make it sound how it's supposed to. And the single piece bridge is just not super ideal. It's not my favorite type of bridge, but it's what you have here because they're trying to mimic, like I said, that other type of guitar. I had to adjust the pull piece height and all of that stuff. Everything as far as the setup was just not really done whatsoever. So we can plug it in to a tube amp, a Hughes & Kettner Tubemeister 20, into a V30 speaker. And we have some pedals on the floor, and we can hear how it sounds. So on the neck pickup, middle position, and the bridge. And if we engage that series mode, and if we engage the parallel, So the nut is not cut all that well. It's kind of sloppy. And you have some of the strings that might be a little high when you're playing open chords. You're getting a little bending like on the G. And it might be out of tune already. Back to the bridge. So you have a bit of an output discrepancy too. The bridge, like I said, I couldn't get it as close as I wanted to the strings, but it's also quieter than the neck. Neck, bridge. It's definitely a little quieter. Tube screamer. Back to the neck. So the neck pickup sounds a lot better and it's a lot louder. We try a rat distortion. Here's what we get. So the neck pickup actually sounds pretty great. The bridge pickup, I just want more output, and I don't really love the voicing either. For even more gain, we have an ultra metal distortion on the neck. And then back to the bridge. And so the bridge pickup sounds pretty good when there's distortion on it, but not as good clean. With some chorus and back on the neck, here's what you get. Cool. So it does sound good. I'm not complaining. Feels good to play. So we've heard it through a tube amp. Now we can try hearing it through a simulated amp, and then we can wrap it up, give it a review. Thank you for watching. So there you go. We went through the specs of the guitar, how it feels to play. You heard it through a tube amp and a simulated amp. How'd you think it sounded? Did it sound great? Did it sound bad? Let me know in the comments. Are you going to get one of these or one of the other Paranormal guitars? They have some really cool stuff in this most recently announced run of Paranormal guitars. So if you don't like this, you might like something else. I reviewed the Nashville Stratocaster. You can find that right here if you'd like to watch that. And As far as a review, I would probably give it an 8. The big things that would deduct points are the tuners and the setup, and maybe the not having enough foam under the pickups might deduct a point too. And I wanted something like a Les Paul Special because I love that type of guitar, and I love Strats, and so putting it together is just my dream come true. So I like it a lot. It does feel a little cheap. It's a little light. I wish it maybe weighed a little more. Some people might, say I'm crazy and it weighs perfect amount of weight. I don't want it to be too heavy. It's 7.7 pounds, which is a little light for me. I kind of like 8 pounds, 8.2 pounds, just to feel a little more heft. The instrument has a little more presence. If you could feel it in your hands or around your neck if you're wearing it with a strap. But it's balanced really well, and it sounds great, and I'm really happy with it. And I have more videos on my channel if you'd like to check those out. If you enjoyed this, please like or subscribe below. That would mean a lot to me. But thank you for sticking around the whole time if you did. And until next time, play Strats, play Les Paul Specials, and play this weird little baby thing that they made together from Squier. Thank you, everybody.